Hi, so today I'm going to talk about Nazi policies towards the Jews from 1938 to 1940. So just right before and right at the start of the Second World War. And after Kristallnacht. So I'm going after the 9th, 10th of November 1938, and I'm ending right before Operation Barbarossa. So first of all, the first policy is emigration. And the main idea of this was to encourage the Jews to leave Germany and occupied territories of the Reich. And the way it was implemented was through the idea of Zionism. Zionism was the movement of the return of Jews, Jewish people, to their homeland in Palestine. So Nazis encouraged Zionists, or however you pronounce it, to move to Palestine. However, the problem was Palestine was controlled by the British, and they also put a cap on how many people could enter Palestine because they wanted any Arab conflicts to arise. So that was a bit of a tricky situation. At the same time, another way of immigration that was going on was through kinder transport, which was not a Nazi initiative, it was a British one to rescue the Jews. They knew the danger the Jews were in, so they sent in transport. They helped the Jews emigrate. And the impact. Well, a total of 150,000 Jews managed to migrate voluntarily by 1938, one of them being Albert Einstein. 9,000 Jewish children left to Britain with the whole kinder transport, and 102,200 Jews moved to the USA. Now, of course, there were some problems with it. Well, I mentioned how Zionism was the basis of this, but Zionists were a minority toward in the Jews. They were a minority, so those who actually really wanted to leave to go to Palestine, it was a small number. So some Jews felt German. They thought, I've lived all my life in Germany, why should I move? I was born here, my parents were born here, my grandparents were born here. Why should I have to move just because some dude with a really crappy mustache says so? Also, if a Jewish business was worth more than 5,000 marks, they would be confiscated by the state. So you had a business that was worth more than that, then I was taken away from you, and you couldn't fund any immigration. You couldn't afford going to another country. Also, some countries even stopped Jewish immigration in that case, because they put up their borders. They said, no, you're not coming into our country. That posed a bit of a problem for the Jews because, first of all, the ones that wanted to leave, there weren't that many. Then some of those couldn't even afford to leave, and those that could, they weren't even welcome there. And some Jews found it hard to transfer their skills to another country. For example, if they only spoke German, it would be impossible almost to find a job in say, Britain or Spain or the US. If they could only do one specific thing, it would be harder for them to find a job. So that was kind of a difficult thing. That's why only 150,000 Jews emigrated, which still left a huge problem for Hitler and the Nazis because they were hoping so many more would emigrate, and now it was only a small fraction of what they had wanted. And so they moved on to their second phase, the second idea, which was deportation. Well, this was more when Poland was invaded on the 1st of September 1939. Now, they split Poland into, by they I mean the Nazis and the Soviets, into two territories. And the central part, there was the west was controlled by the Nazis, the right was controlled by the east was controlled by the USSR, and then there was a little area in the middle, kind of controlled by the Germans, but not really, called the General Government. So the idea was to move Jews into this area, which was between the rivers Vistula and Bug, and a Reich ghetto was set up in an area between Warsaw and Lublin. And the idea was that all Jews would go into these ghettos. By Jews, I mean also Reich Jews, so people from Germany or people from occupied territories. It doesn't matter. Well, I say people to the Nazis. The Jews were not people. But the hope was that every single Jew would go into these ghettos. This plan was started in October 1939, so just a month after the invasion of Poland. Heinrich Müller, who was the head of the Gestapo, told Eichmann, Adolf Eichmann, that who was the head of the Central Agency for Jewish Emigration, that he wanted around 70 to 80,000 Jews being deported from the district of Katowice, a district in Nazi-occupied Poland. Hitler also demanded 300,000 German Jews and all the Jews from Vienna to be deported to these ghettos. And this program ran from November 1939 to February 1940. And the SS overall attempted to deport over 1 million people. Over 550,000 of those were Jews. Now, this plan seems solid, right? The Jews are not like voluntarily migrating, they're being deported, so the cost problem shouldn't be an issue for the Jews. The territories, it would still be German occupied territories, so there was nothing stopping them from being deported. However, it still failed because the ghettos were not sustainable. So this guy who was in charge of some of the ghettos, Hans Frank, he said, look, these ghettos are not sustainable, we can't manage them. It was a whole, like the idea of natural waste, so hoping the Jews would die on their own, but the Jews weren't dying fast enough. And so, with the addition of the invasion of Poland, there was so many more Jews apart from those already living in German-occupied territories. So it was kind of a bit of a problem for the Nazis, and they thought, hey, we need something new. We can't keep on deporting the Jews to the ghettos. And so they thought of this idea called the Madagascar Plan. Madagascar, if you don't know, is this island to the east of Africa. And yeah, well, this was the part of the third solution. There was the first solution, immigration, second solution, deportation, and third solution, Madagascar Plan. Then the final solution, that's the extermination. But right now, they're not even thinking extermination just yet. They are hoping that the Jews would die out on their own, but they're not actively killing them. So it was, I mean, another way of expelling Jews and moving them out of Lebensraum, living space. So this plan actually was not a Nazi idea. It was based on this idea by French anti-Semites in the early 1930s, who saw Madagascar, which was a French colony, and thought, hey, we could send some Jews there. Now, there was this, like, by this point, this was 1940, France was already occupied by the Nazis. So there was this like area in the south of France called Vicky France. And it was ideal to relocate 25,000 French natives living in the island to resettle 4 million European Jews in the island. So the idea was to get 25,000 natives from Madagascar, move them to Vicky France, and move 4 million Jews to Madagascar. It was going to be in phases, right? The first phase was farmers, construction workers, artisans, people who could create a community, people who could start building things up, so that eventually more people would go on to live there. And it was actually financed by the properties the Nazis had stolen from the Jews in Kristallnacht. So that was a good idea, because they were using the money they took from the Jews to move the Jews away. So kind of efficient. And it was a whole idea of natural wastage, the ghetto idea. Hopefully they would die by natural causes on their own. We would have to exterminate them. No one could blame us. Well, Madagascar offered a lot of land. It was far away from any European powers. It had no political or religious tensions, like in Palestine. So why not use Madagascar? It was great. It's a great idea. However, by October 1940, the Germans had hoped to end the war, but that did not happen. They were still fighting Britain. So deportation. There were two routes. One of them was around Germany, so through the north of Germany, going around France, which wouldn't be a problem because France was occupied by the Germans, but going right next to Britain, and then Spain, and then all of Africa, then Madagascar, or the other option, the shorter one, and the east. I say the easiest one, the without any problems, the shorter length one, if that makes sense, was going through Italy, which was friendly, and then going to Africa. However, there's this little strip of this little canal called the Suez Canal, controlled by the British. So there was no way in times of war that the British would let German ships go through. So that was a kind of a problem, and because they had hoped a peace treaty would have come up by now, or even invasion, that didn't happen, because by this point France was occupied. There was a whole lot of territories in Europe that were occupied. Britain had been fighting the battle for Britain, but had won. So Germany was behind, like further behind than they hoped they would be in their whole conquering of the world. And of course, like I said, the British would never let these German ships pass through. And the British Navy, the largest one in the world, was no match for the Kriegsmarine, the Nazi Navy, basically. So Hitler saw the Madagascar Plan and thought, yeah, this is a good idea, but it's not feasible. Why don't we turn east and go to the Soviet Union and move the Jews to Siberia? That's a good idea. Why not? Then they would still die because of the cold. So win-win. Hitler, he was in no point in time he said, "Oh, I know we have this pact with the Soviets, so we can't really do anything." Yeah, Hitler, when he signed the pact with Stalin, he knew perfectly well he was gonna break it. But that's not really a problem. It's just that, yeah, the Soviet Union was a really good option because it was right next to Germany, and they thought the German army was superior, so they could easily take over. So this whole Madagascar Plan shows that the extermination of the Jews was not the first option. They never thought, okay, we're going to kill all the Jews. Yeah, they hated them, but they thought better to move them away. Not our problem. They can die out on their own. When worse comes to worse, they do kill the Jews, but it's not the first option. That's the final solution. And actually, the Madagascar proposal was trying to achieve, like, it was attempted. It was trying to make it possible through legal means. They didn't try to just go to Madagascar. They did try to appoint to include this demand in any possible peace treaty should it come up, include a Reich foreign minister, research organizations. So it was a whole legal idea. It wasn't that they were just going to send them there. They were actually going to use diplomatic approaches, kind of. But they knew that unless they had a peace treaty with Britain, there was no way they would let them cross the Suez Canal or the English Channel. So that's that. And that is the Nazi policies towards the Jews, 1938 to 1940. I'm not including Kristallnacht because that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It just shows how it goes really casually. At first it's, okay, Jews, leave. The next was, okay, you're not leaving, we're forcing you to leave. The next one was like, okay, fine, you don't like the ghettos? We can give you an island. You like that? So that's pretty much it. Like, there's not much else I can say. It gets more radical from 1941 onwards. And then prior to 1938, it's more excluding them from society than anything. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Thank you for watching.